John, you mentioned Air Noland's name, and obviously, there's a lot of talk around Ohio State fanhood right now around quarterback because finally Ryan Day has named Kyle McCord the guy. The competition with Devin Brown leaked into the season, and that was a little frustrating because it wasn't that both guys were playing at such an elite level that it forced the coaches to extend it. It was both guys had lacked a little consistency, shown some flashes of really good play. And that's not necessarily what Ohio State fans are used to seeing. Personally, I'm really not that worried about Ohio State at quarterback. I think Kyle McCord's going to be really, really good. I'm far more concerned about Ohio State's offensive line production right now. But quarterback's what a lot of folks want to talk about, and Air Noland seems to be one of the next guys in line here. What's the latest going on with Air?
Look, Air is a huge stock-up recruit for us. We mentioned the Elite 11 where Air was spinning it against the other great and elite quarterbacks in this class. And in every workout, in every competition setting, in every we got to make you feel uncomfortable type of scenario, he looked comfortable. He looked like he belonged with just about any of those throwers, whether you talk Dylan Raiola, whether you talk Julian Sand, any of the great players in this class, Air belonged. And there's this calm with him. He's not the rah-rah guy. He's not going to, do the trick shot, jump pass, and make you go, oh, my goodness. But when it comes to accuracy, decision-making, timing, anticipation, the mechanics of delivering the football, it's consistent and it's elite every single time. So he's a lefty, and I think that's going to be, quite interesting to see going forward. But as the NFL and college ball showing us Tua Tagovailoa, Michael Penix at the collegiate level, the lefties are making a comeback in this quarterback conversation. So I think Air Noland is one of the best we've scouted. Naturally, I go back to Tua in high school because he's really the only elite lefty that I remember scouting. And I think Tua was known for more of the intermediate game, kind of what he's known for now, the intermediate game and that quick release and the quick processing. I think Air has that on a bigger build, 6'2", over 200 pounds, but he's just as quick with that release and just as smooth with it. You almost forget he's a lefty, which is, to me, a huge compliment to Air Noland's game. And look, where it counts most in the evaluation game, Friday nights, he's a beast. I know a lot of Buckeye fans saw him open up his senior season on ESPN with a big win and a late game throw against the grain to win against Carrollton High School. But you go to last year. I mean, you're talking state championship, 15-0, over 4,000 yards, nearly 60 touchdowns. I mean, he is as productive as any quarterback that has gone to Ohio State. And he's playing in Atlanta. I mean, he's playing truly elite competition. So I know, I guess perception says, well, you had Dylan Raiola and now you pivoted to Air Noland because Raiola defected. But again, head to head, they belong right next to each other. And in some cases, Air Noland looked more consistent, more accurate, more comfortable than Dylan Raiola, though Dylan has a bit of a bigger arm and obviously more eyeballs and reputation around his game. So that'll be fascinating. I think we'll track both of these guys together the rest of the way. But Air Noland's going to come in and try to shake things up at Ohio State. And he's got this demeanor and calm about him, a maturity, if you will, that I think is going to allow him to contend as an underclassman.
Glad you brought up Dylan's name. There's a lot of people, too, right now talking about Quinn Ewers because Quinn's playing out of his mind really, really well. And obviously Texas beats Alabama. That has created some shockwaves around the sport. And I think the combination of, Dylan backs out of a commitment and Quinn comes and then leaves, combined with where Ohio State entered the season here, not publicly sure, is it Kyle, is it Devin? How big of a deal when you get, you don't live in Columbus. I know you're obviously really familiar with what's going on here and with a lot of these big recruits around the country, but you have the perspective of being able to take off the scarlet and gray glasses here. How big of a deal was it that Dylan backed out of his commitment? And is there any national concern about Ohio State with two quarterbacks like that in fairly short order saying, hey, I'm coming to Ohio State. One of them actually shows up, and then now two have gone, you know what? This isn't the place for me.
I think in one hand, it's the nature of the beast. I mean, every school deals with quarterback transfers and or quarterback decommits. Whether you go to the other schools you mentioned, you go to Texas, you go to Alabama, even the USCs of the world, Lincoln Riley, have all dealt with quarterback defections in one way, shape, or form. So I do think that's part of the current status of quarterbacking at the collegiate level. You want to be the guy, and when you consistently bring in elite guys, obviously, I mean, look at the Joe Burrow situation. Obviously, you can only pick one starter, and that kind of worked out for everybody at that time, right? So I think that's a part of the quarterbacking game in general and the business of it. But on the other hand, I remember when Raiola decommitted, I made some calls. Hey, did something happen? Was there anything like that he didn't like about Ohio State? Did somebody rub him the wrong way? This is a kid with NFL bloodlines. He's got resources. He's lived all over the country. Did something happen here from Ohio State's standpoint? I got unanimous no's with that. I got more. Ohio State was just as surprised as everybody else. So I think this was a little bit more Dylan Raiola led than Ohio State led in terms of that departure. With Quinn, look, Texas kid. He really, he skipped a year of high school. He really threw his own wrench into the end of his high school career, and it forced him to make some decisions that he thought were going to be best for him long term, and it didn't turn out to be the case. So I think that was a more unique situation than a Dylan Raiola. But I don't think the perception of Ohio State quarterback, room building, if you will, I don't think that has taken a hit. I mean, look, you just had a kid go number 2 in the draft or whatever it was.
Yeah, sure.
CJ Stroud, and he's starting as a rookie in the NFL. So I don't think in that little time you could take a big enough perceptional hit to where high school quarterbacks now say that Ohio State offer doesn't mean as much as it used to. We're very far from that. I think it's a little bit more coincidental from a timing perspective of Quinn leaving and obviously this back and forth between McCord and Brown. But I think all that dust is going to settle now, and Air Noland coming in as a 5-star guy on Rivals.com. All of that is going to resettle that part of the conversation. And like you said, McCord's probably going to figure it out and probably have a pretty big year in 23.